cucumbers and some squash. It's a little late, they should have been in a few weeks ago, but it's been tough this year. It's been very wet and I haven't had as much time as I'd like to do this. Here, I'll just turn that off. So when I plant vegetables, I plant them wet. It's called slurry planting, some people call it. These are the plants, they're nice plants, they're a little dry here. I'm just going to give them a good soak. I like to give everything a really good drink before I put it in the ground, so that it's nice and damp here. It just needs a little bit more water. There we go. So whilst those are soaking, I'll show you what I've done over here. This is one of my raised beds that we talked about when I was working on the tomatoes. I've prepped this by essentially digging around this oblong, this rectangle, and bringing the bed up and incorporating at the same time a mixture of something called Healthy Start, which is a really good product. It has mycorrhiza in it and it seems to make the roots really get off to a good healthy start. That's why it's called Healthy Start. And I mix that with some chicken poop, dehydrated chicken poop, and mix it all together, put it on here, incorporate it, and then I damp down the bed. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just about to cover it with plastic. Whilst I'm covering it with plastic, I'll tell you why I do that. Okay, so here we go. Here's the black plastic that I was talking about, and we're going to place it on top of the soil. I use bricks to hold it in place to stop it blowing away in the wind. So here we go. So you want to keep it nice and tight. You see this in the fields where the farmers use it. They have a special machine to do it. I have to do it by hand. So I'm going to go down the other end now. So now I'm at the other end of the bed, and if you notice I've damped down the bed. This water is going to get trapped in here by the plastic, and there's fertilizer, as I was saying earlier, fertilizer and chicken poop in there, so it gives the plants a really good kickstart initially. So I put a brick in here like that, smooth it over. And ultimately, you can look at some that I've done with the tomato plants. I'll put in some mulch in here just to hold this all in place. It's quite an expensive process. You don't have to do that. It's just this year I'm working for a landscape company. I'm getting my mulch at a very good price, so this year I chose to mulch it. Some people use old carpet, some people use straw, some people don't bother, they just run the rototiller or a small tiller in the pathway just to keep it clear of weeds. Last resort is to hoe it every week, but that's a lot of work, so I've gone to the mulch solution. So I'm going to put the rest of the plastic down, and then we'll show you how I go about planting through this, and we'll do some cucumbers. Okay. So what I used to do to plant with is a big knife to cut the plastic, a small trowel to dig the hole. It's all prepped, so it's very easy digging. And I'll just get my little bucket of fertilizer. So here's the fertilizer. As I said, it's a mixture of Healthy Start, chicken poop. It stinks. However, it's like gold dust. It makes things grow. I'm now going to go and get the plants out of the wheelbarrow. So these are good and wet now. And as you can see, like soupy. So they've perked up. Since they were looking a bit droopy earlier, now they've perked up again. I always read the label, even though I've done this many times now, I keep on looking at the label. So these are called straight 8 cucumbers. They like full sun. They like to be 4 to 6 feet apart. That's a huge amount of space. That's a lot of space. And it takes about 50 to 75 days after planting. So here we go. So to make this work, I get my big old carving knife and I cut a cross in here. I need to be sharpened. There we go. And I make a hole. I always take about like 5 to 6 scoops out, like that.
How deep?
That is about 8 inches deep. So that's over dug, all right? And the reason why I over dig it is I get some more of my Magee mixture. I sprinkle that on there, I sprinkle a little in the hole. That's about 1/4 cup I've put on there. I mix this up, you can do it with your hands. And then I stir this around. And then, last but not least, I get the hose. Here comes the hose. And I wet this down. This is why it's called slurry planting. It's literally like making cement. Now lots of purists would say I'm breaking up the soil profile and I'm doing terrible things here. But I tell you what, it seems to work. So I put some of this back in, stir it around, make my soup. And then I just let that sit there. And I think, okay, there's number 1 plant. My second plant is going to go here. Over here, they said 5 to 6 feet, didn't they? So I think that's an awful lot. I'm going to go 4 feet. Because I'm an optimist. And we'll get another one over here. And these are all straight 8s. Okay. I'm going here with this one. And I'll go here with this one. Alright. It's very hot today and very humid. So whilst that's still doing its magic, I'll cut this hole here. And prep this for planting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still the odd root in here. I'm going to come over that side and do those 2, and then we'll put that first one in that I prepped. We'll plant that. So here goes.
So what do people do wrong when they're doing this?
Well, if you put plants in a dry hole, and they're stressed anyway because they haven't had a good watering before they've gone in the hole, it means that the plants arrive in their new home, they've been stressed because you've brought them back in a hot car from the nursery. They might have been sitting for an afternoon whilst you've been digging and prepping, because we all tend to buy our plants before having the ground prepped. So you're sitting there, your plants are sitting there in your hot car, or if you've had the thoughtfulness to take them out of the hot car and put them in the shade and give them a drink. That's the best thing to do. But really what you should do is to have everything prepped ready to go before you go out and buy the plants. But life's strange, you know, you're always pushing against time. You might be out in the morning doing your shopping for groceries and things, and you see the plants at the supermarket, or you're at your local farmer's market and there are some great vegetables there, so of course you grab them. And we've all done it, and we've all failed to plant things that we've bought and they've gone on to die in a couple of weeks because you've ignored them and never got them in the ground. So it is really, as I said, best to pre-prepare. But that being said, if you can't do that, get on with it as soon as you get home. Give the plants a really good soak. And then if you follow this slurry planting method, it means the plants go from being wet when you've put them in the ground. They've got this fertilizer mix with the chicken poop, and they just seem to really go for broke once they're in the ground. Now with the black plastic, we have such a short growing season. If you put your hand in here, even though this has only been down a few minutes, it's really hot under here already. It's really warm, and because I wet the soil, it's really sort of warm and humid, so it's a perfect growing medium in here, especially for the hot weather plants. So peppers, zucchini, eggplant, hot peppers, and the cucumbers, they all seem to do really well. Squash, summer squash. So I use this system pretty much all the time now for those plants. I don't do it with potatoes, I don't do it with, let's think, I don't do it with root crops, beets, turnip. I don't do it with herbs, which, as you can see, herbs, lettuce, that's salad crops. I grow those in just straight soil. But as I said, with all the hot country crops, all the things that sort of grew in Italy and places like that we grow and we use so much in our diet, I grow them under black plastic, and it seems to have worked very well. So I'm going to keep on going, otherwise I'll never get these planted, and we'll get that second one in the ground as well. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to plant this cucumber. In theory, these pots, they're biodegradable. You can plant them and the roots are meant to grow right through them. I always take them out. I put these on the compost heap, but I always take these out. There's pots made out of coconut as well, and I've tried experiments where you take them out on some and not on others, and I always think to myself that the plants without the taken out of the pot seem to grow better. So if you look down in this hole, you can see I've really made this goopy mess. It really is. It's a slurry. It's like making it's like cooking and you're making some, I don't know, gooey dough or something. And I plant right into that. So what you do when you plant something, you turn the plant upside down. Some plants are very, very root bound when you take them out of the pot. This is just beginning to get that way, but it's essentially fine. If you notice, the plants, once they hit the side of the pot, they turn left or right and they start growing in a circle. And if this were really root bound, you'd get a knife and score this side and you break this up. But this is this is pretty cool, this plant. This is in a good place. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a little hole in here. And you should feel how warm this is. It's amazing how quickly this heats up. And I'm literally just pushing that into that goopy mess. And then I'm dragging the dry soil that's on the edge of the hole, and we're just bringing that up. And you see, I'm trying not to bury the plant. You see, there's the medium that the nurseries used. Sometimes the nurseries are at fault, and you have to check that the plant isn't buried even when you buy it. But these are pretty good. Unfortunately, you've got a couple that have broken. The plant fell over in the, but these are pretty healthy plants. So now I'm going to do the other four, and then we'll do the summer squash. So that's it. That's how you plant a cucumber. Let's do the other four. Okay, so here's the second plant. This one's better looking, really healthy. This one isn't broken, didn't fall over. Again, making my slurry. This is a little too dry, I'm just going to add a bit more water. This all seems like it takes quite a lot of time, and it does, to be fair, but I think the results warrant it. I work in the nurseries trade, and I say nursery trade, I mean the landscape industry. And last year I planted tens of thousands of trees and shrubs, and I use exactly the same technique for those too. Sometimes my crew hate me for it because it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more care to get the plants in the ground. But I think of all the hundreds of trees and shrubs I planted last year, or I was part of, you know, had a hand in the planting of, I think we lost 2 rhododendron and one other shrub. I can't even remember if we lost another shrub. It was literally 2 rhodies we lost last year, having planted many plants over the course of the season. You see this one again, it's a little root bound, so you just run your thumb over here and break it up. It's not doing the plant any harm. Okay, make a little hole, and in it goes, a little deeper. Look at that. Happy to be in its new home. Wish they all looked as good as this. This is a good one. And now that one beside you. Here's the plant. Take the plant out. Same technique, just to tease these roots out. That's a good word, isn't it? Tease. Teasing roots. And make a little hole here and just drag that soil in and around it. Yeah, I always firm plants down gently. It means that when the wind blows, they don't rock over and stay on their sides. There we go. One more to go, and then we're done, and we'll look at the summer squash and do something similar for those as well in terms of the planting. Okay. This one's a little too wet. It'll dry out. I'll come and check it in a minute. Make sure it's seated nicely.